All right, let's finish up the Critters series with Critters 4. This is going to be a very interesting movie to review because this film feels like a melding of two films, and I have to wonder if this script was originally intended to be a Critters film. I know certain films like, Chud 2, Bud the Chud was supposed to be a Return of the Living Dead film. It works very much better if you watch it as a Return of the Living Dead film. I think it fits that series very well. I actually really like that film. It's funny as hell, but I think as a Chud sequel, everyone's like, what the fuck is this nonsense? But I think as a Return of the Living Dead sequel, it actually works. Same thing with like Hellraiser Inferno. Like that was written as something else, and that actually happens to be my favorite Hellraiser as well. Blasphemous, I know, whatever. This film is weird because, like, it's got, like, such a serious tone to it. It feels like an Aliens ripoff of sorts. But then you have Charlie's character and the Critters kind of just, like, it's almost like taking Charlie and the Critters and throwing them into Aliens without the alien. It's very weird. The film plays very serious almost the entire time with like Charlie coming in as the comedic relief. But Charlie and the Critters don't come into this movie until about 35 minutes in. So up until that point, it's just like a fucking serious space drama sort of thriller thing. And then Charlie and the Critters come in and it doesn't really alter the tone except for in their scenes. So the scenes which in Charlie's in or the Critters are in, then you kind of have the Critters thing going on, like, but then all the rest of the film they're not in or not a part of is just this serious space drama thriller with some really good actors. I mean, this movie has Brad Dourif, Angela Bassett, and Anders Hove from the Subspecies films. And Angela Bassett and Brad Dourif give great performances in this movie. I mean, considering the film, these performances are way better than they should be. Now, I would like to say that in the last review, I said that I didn't know what city it was set in. I was like, oh, I guess it must be New York. I was wrong. It was Kansas City. I looked it up, and I was like, oh, oops. So, and as I said, I'm going to talk spoilers on all these. I'm sure if you're watching this, you're probably like, you've already seen it, or this film's old enough. So, anyway, I thought that making Ugg the villain here was an interesting choice. I don't dislike it because I like when they, surprise us and do something different. It was fine. I didn't feel one way or the other. This film is, as I said, it's just tough to talk about because it was like, it felt like I was watching two different films at once. And I quite liked the drama film. Like, I was almost wishing that the Critters aspect and Charlie were taken out of the film and they did more of a, almost like a generic Aliens ripoff, like something like, Creature with Klaus Kinski. Like, that's a great Aliens ripoff. And this felt like one of those. And then the Critters aspects came in and it was just kind of bogging the film down. Not that I think it would have been a great film without that stuff in it, but I think it would have been a decent genre film. Now, getting into the goods of this movie, so many horror franchises go to space eventually once they get up there in numbers. Leprechaun did it, Friday the 13th did it, Hellraiser did it, and this one did it. And this is really the only one where it makes sense. I mean, the Critters are from space, the bounty hunters are from space, so it totally makes sense to take this to space. Not that I dislike those other movies. Well, I like Jason X. The other two, I don't remember Leprechaun very well, the space one. I just remember he comes out of a guy's dick. That cracked me up. I'll never forget that. And the Hellraiser one, I remember just disliking. I thought it was boring as shit. But yeah, I think that this one totally made sense. And as I said earlier, the acting was good, but the actors worked really well, especially the aforementioned three, the top billed ones that I said. the Brad Dourif and Angela Bassett and Andrews Ho, they worked really well together. I was pretty surprised when I was watching it in the first 10 minutes. I was like, the first 10 minutes of this movie is way better than the entirety of Critters 3. It felt like it was setting up to be a really good sci-fi film until the critters got there. I liked Andrew's death. I think I'm saying his name right. I've never heard it out loud, and I know he's from a different country, so probably am pronouncing that wrong. But I like his death. I like the critters, in his mouth, and he's like, it's like stuck in his mouth, and his whole fucking mouth's ripped open and shit. I like that. And as I said, I really liked all the things I mentioned that I was saying was good. I really liked those things. As I said, I just wish it was in a different movie. Now, getting into the bad. The music in this movie is terrible. For some reason, it just made me feel like it should have been like a Tremors film. Now, I love the Tremors series, but the music did not fit this film, very much so, especially the end credits. Like, this movie's almost completely serious throughout. Then Charlie does like this stupid thing at the end where he like, don't touch the boat, don't touch anything, Charlie. Oh, I'm going to throw on my shades and, reject authority. And then, starts spinning, and then the music cuts, and it sounds like the end of like a Naked Gun movie or something. It's like fucking silly. And you're like, this like not 2 minutes ago, did Charlie have to basically, shoot Ugg, who's been his friend for all fucking 4 films, in the head to get off, and he's like super depressed, and then like a minute later, he's just cool guy with the shades, doing whatever the fuck he wants, and then just like cue the silly fucking clown music. It was really weird tonal change. So yeah. And I've talked a lot about this film being serious, and I think that that's going to be my, part of my negative here is that the Critters series, like the beginning of this series, the first 2 films are just a ton of fun. This third one, I think, was trying to be a little, more of a blend of serious and fun, and they just kind of did a little too much serious. As I said, there was just too much family drama bullshit, and you just didn't really care about any of it. But in this one, it went way too far into that. So I just felt, I did not feel like this was a Critters film at all. It really isn't. I mean, the critters are so sparse here. Like, they're almost non-existent in this film. You see them very little, and the threat that they bring to this movie is not that great. Like, I didn't ever feel their presence in this movie. I never felt like they were lurking around corners. The critters' presence in this film is just not there. And so it begs the question, why the fuck is this a Critters movie? The blood in this movie, when it's on the walls, when it's on is awful. It's this like pinky, bright red, awful. The sets are cheap, but this is a low budget movie, so who gives a shit? I mean, but I want to mention that anyway. Yeah, I mean, the whole like reverse psychology thing on the computer system, it was not only dumb, but so overdone. It was just like, they used it so many times in the film. I was like, I get it. The computer does the opposite of what you say. Like, they had to like do it like 3 or 4 different times. Like, they would say it and they'd be like, wait a minute, no, don't do it. I repeat. They kept saying that too. Even though she didn't need to hear I repeat, they would constantly keep saying like, whatever the fuck the computer's name was, I can't remember. But it was just like, computer, I repeat, do not. And they just did it so many times. And I was like, you don't even need to say the I repeat part. You're just pounding it home for no reason. And it's annoying. So, this is a note. This is like a message to myself if I ever rewatch these videos and I'm thinking like, hey, should I check out these movies again? Yeah, check out 1 and 2, and you can skip 3 and 4. You know, future message to future self in case you're ever thinking about checking these movies out again. So yeah, done with the Critters series. Yay! Moving on. I haven't picked my next series yet. I'm going to put some thought into that, and I will definitely let you guys know. I'm curious on what everyone's favorite Critters movie is. I have a buddy who seems to love this movie. I think his memory of it is like mine. I thought that this movie was good. And as I said, this isn't a bad movie. It's like the Critters being shoehorned in with Charlie kind of ruined the film that it could have been. Like, if it would have been a genre film with a different monster thrown in and not a goofy sidekick fucking comic relief character, you know, because Ugg kind of did the whole Aliens 3 thing with Lance Hendrick's character, you know, Bishop. I mean, that's basically what his character was in this. I don't know when this came out. I'm thinking this came out right around the same time. But it's basically the same thing. Like, you know, although it is Ugg, it's just that, like, he comes aboard last minute, you know, at the very end, and he's now the bad guy when he was once the good guy. So, and it steals stuff. I mean, it's clearly ripping off some stuff from Aliens. It has like trash compactor scene with Charlie and the kid, clearly from Star Wars. In fact, Brad Dourif's character actually calls them stormtroopers when they walk in. And the helmets of these guards clearly are Darth Vader inspired. Actually kind of look like Darth samurais. So yeah. Anyway, I'm done talking about Critters. I'm done. Time to move on. All right.